Hi, I'm Herbert Wolfson, Chief Product Officer at LibreQoE, and today we are celebrating the release of LibreQoS version 1.4, bringing even better traffic shaping to ISPs, particularly wireless, but it also works with fiber. And so today we're going to go through some of the features that are in 1.4 and how we've listened to your needs and tried to make your life easier as a network operator. Okay, so I have pulled up the node manager, which is the GUI that sits on each traffic shaping device that you add to your network running LibreQoS. And the node manager is focused on giving you real-time tactical readout for what is going on your network right now. Full disclosure, this is my live network. I have turned on text redaction, so you see Klingon instead of my customer names. That's deliberate. They probably appreciate having their privacy protected. We are on a VM on a Xeon Silver system. There's 9 virtual cores and 10 gigs of RAM in total. As you can see, we are hardly using any of that RAM. We are pounding some of the CPUs a little hard. We don't have the most balanced tree at this location, and we're pulling consistently up around a gig because I'm recording this during peak time. I figured I'd be brave. The last 5 minutes shows you a rolling chart of how much data is being shaped by the system. So approximately 85,000 packets a second. That's pretty good for a pretty small system. TCP round trip time histogram. So we measure TCP round trip time by looking at data going through with its sequence number and the acknowledgements coming back, which is how TCP handles its remains a reliable protocol, is by tracking each acknowledgement to make sure that everything arrived and it arrived in the right order, and counting how many fall within each of these time brackets. As you can see, Cake is doing a wonderful job on our congested network, with the vast majority of our customers enjoying under 50 millisecond round trip time, and most of them under 25 millisecond. That's enough that VoIP will be crisp, gaming will be good, people won't be calling support late at night complaining that they died horribly because of the lag. Fewer support calls, happy customers, and gives you an instant indication if things start turning red that, hey, there's a problem on my network. The top 10 downloaders, that is real time, but you can see that right now this Klingon insult is doing better than this Klingon insult, and their round trip times as measured are remaining well within the boundaries of what we want to be providing to them. Now LibreQoS has a unique feature that you don't find in other shapers that I have found so far, that we can simulate your whole network as a tree rather than just maybe providing a limit on one access point and each individual customer. And so we currently integrate with UISP and PowerCode and Spalinks, or let you write your network hierarchy by hand. And we've downloaded our full network hierarchy, 57 sites, pulled it into LibreQoS, did it automatically. It read most of our wireless backhauls capacities, updates them periodically, and so we have the whole network represented as a tree. And the network tree here is showing you top-level entries from where the shaper is, how much traffic is going through that part of the tree. It gives you a good idea that in this case, the southbound network on our network is always the busiest. It breaks it out all the way down the whole tree. You can see real-time upload, download, and latency. And the color coding starts to kick in as you start to approach the current estimate of what you can handle. These start to turn pink and red. And you can really see that the shaper works, and works hard, because despite being relatively full, we're still seeing pretty good round trip times. Even some of the sites that I know have troubles are starting to have some trouble, are still seeing pretty usable, good numbers. And this goes all the way down. You can keep drilling down all the way through your network. Obviously, it's a lot easier if you're not using Klingon. I am kind of clicking and guessing as to what will come up. But there we go. You can see in real time we have data flowing through all the way down. And you can at any time click on a customer and see in real time their throughput going past, all of the stats from the Cake shaping system. So packet delays as they're imposed, FQ cuddle and the original Cuddle and Cake all work by imposing delays with a view to spacing traffic out so that you don't overwhelm buffers. Instead, you pace the packets so buffers going through the whole internet work more effectively, and that's the secret sauce behind getting good latency. Cake goes one better than FQ-Cuddle and reads the SCP packets, figures out that the majority of traffic will just treat as best effort, but in this case, this guy's probably got a Zoom call going on because we're seeing a few spikes there that are being categorized as interactive video. If you had VoIP going, then you'd see that here. Bulk, quite frequently, you'll find that long downloads start to make their way over to bulk, and so that combines with FQ-Cuddle's fair queuing system that ensures that small flows get equal access to the pipe and don't get overwhelmed by big flows. This goes one step further, adds some priority, actively makes things better for some of the things like Zoom and Google Meet calls that your customers need to work. The queue tree system simply displays the same thing that we looked at on the tree, but it takes the client, takes the parent, all the way up the tree, giving you all the data you need to, hopefully, if they're having a bottleneck, spot where it is.
All right, we've been over the node manager, that is technical data, what is happening right now on my network. This brings us naturally to the new 1.4 feature, LongTerm Stats, which aims to provide a much more long-term strategic view of how your ISP is doing, giving you the information you need when a customer calls, and also overviews to see which parts of your network could use some help, where the problems are, or where you're doing well. So let's start to have a look at the stats system. When you finish your first login, you will see that we have throughput graphs. As you'd expect, you can change the time period to view over a large period of time. We're aiming to keep your stats for at least a year in a efficient compressed format. You'll notice looking at the graph that there's a central line and then there's a gray band around it. That's because most systems that show you 5-minute averages are giving you inaccurate data. They're taking each sample throughout a time period and averaging them and then just storing the average. That kind of misses the picture because you miss macrobursts, so you don't have a good picture of what's going on. You don't have a good idea if that average is really where your connection is peaking. So we obsessively throughout the system built it to ensure that you always have the median, the maximum, and the minimum, which is also nice and statistically valid when you start scaling it. So we keep throughput, we keep packets. We also, just like the node manager, are integrated into your site tree, and so for every part of your tree, we can tell you where your bandwidth is going at any given time that you're looking at. And so the child sites view here is showing you that various Klingons are consuming relatively large amounts of my data. Some of them are not, and that's fine. The latency histogram is the same as the latency histogram on the node manager, only it is applied over the time period you're looking at, and it doesn't include unknown devices, and so this gives you an accurate picture of what your customers are getting right now. And we also offer it as a time series. As a time series, the minimum and maximum when you're looking at the whole network tends to be a bit spread out. As you can see here, it becomes much more useful when we start zooming in, which we'll do. We also build heat maps covering whatever time period you're looking at. So let's switch down to 1 hour. And so you can see in the last hour, we've been having some troubles with this top entry and a couple of items here. But generally speaking, our network's looking pretty good. And this gives you an instant visual feedback to allow you to focus in, drill down, and start to have a look at what's going on. If you have multiple shaper nodes, they will appear as separate lines, each with their own minimum and maximum, on these graphs so that you can see exactly what's going on in each part of your network. We also track each of the shaper nodes, track their health, when they last reported to our system, and you can zoom in to any one of the shaper nodes, see how they're doing. We'll keep track of CPU and RAM usage, how much traffic is going through that shaper node, and how that shaper node's latency is affecting your network as a whole. We maintain the full site tree, exactly the same as the shaper node, only now it's scaled out over whatever time period you're currently looking at. Going back to the dashboard, The heat maps are designed for you to be able to drill down and start seeing additional data. So let's go ahead and take a look at this child node. Not a lot here. They're not doing a huge amount of, they're not carrying a huge amount of traffic. Let's go ahead and pick one there. I think you saw the site name, and that's okay. This is a much busier site. The last hour or so it's been pulling 50 to 100 megs, but it's now early morning when I'm recording this, so we are far from peak time. It starts to drill down to the individual sector level, down to individual customers. If you have WISP integration enabled, you also get signal and estimated capacity information. And that is extremely useful for figuring out what's going on with your network. If you've got issues, if a customer calls, you can look them up, have a look, see exactly what they're actually using as opposed to what their claimed experience is, get a good idea of their round-trip times, to have a good handle on how they're actually experiencing the internet as opposed to how they're using it. We have a very, very deep search feature, which I'm not going to show you because it will show you customer names, but you can type customer name, customer address, fragments thereof, IP addresses, and really anything we could think of that might help you find your customer quickly. We've here at iZones pretty much settled on a workflow of people call us. If it's a question about performance, type their name into the search box, boom, up it comes. We've got the data right at our fingertips. We're also building a report system. This is the all sites round trip time. There's also utilization relative to the limit. You see we've got a few here that are seriously overloaded, and that's still working surprisingly well because LibreQoS does such a great job of smoothing out traffic. And so that is the long-term stats system. It is currently in beta 0. We're expecting several more betas, a whole bunch more features to appear. But we encourage you to give it a go. We do have a free trial. And if you get in touch with us on LibreQoS.io, we will be glad to help you get started.